皆さんこんばんは。すっごく疲れたルーナでございます。Hello everyone, this is Luna coming to you live from Japan. I went to Kyoto today actually. 今日、校外学習のおかげで京都に行きました。今日のやったこと紹介したいと思います。So I was thinking that I wanted to kind of recount my day and all the things I did. なんか今日知らないさっきに全然知らない3人新しい人会いました。すごく面白かった。でもごめんね。I really want to take this video in English because I'm very tired and I'm sitting on my kitchen floor right now. Hello, welcome to my kitchen floor. So I thought that this would be a very low energy video and it would be very zoomed in on my face so that you can hear better, so my voice actually hits the mic. But I was thinking we could go roll around on my rug. But anyhow, I met a total of 3 new people today on my adventures. So I'm quite excited to talk about that. Also, I have my prized possession, my negi. I love green onions. I love onions. I essentially am an onion. If I could be an onion, humans are like onions. We have many layers. Anyhow, I hope you are having a wonderful day. It is 11:11, so in Japan, 11月11日はポッキーの日かな。So 11:11 make a wish, of course. But 気持ちいいな。Hello. So we're gonna roll around on the floor now. Unfortunately, the lighting, if I'm rolling around on the floor, isn't great. But あと本当にごめんね。この動画は英語だけかな。ちょっと日本語も話したいけど、今日ずっと日本語喋ってたから脳が疲れちゃった。Alright, so I actually did I brought my camera with me today to take video because we went on a class trip today to Kyoto and it was super fun and everyone in my class is great and I think that I don't know, I really like being on my own versus being in large groups of people. I actually prefer being on my own even versus being with like one other person, generally speaking at least. Should we have something interesting in the background? Like my ladder? Not very interesting. But anywho, so I guess later on, because I do have quite a bit of footage, when I have the opportunity to edit it, I shall edit it. But for now, I guess you will just get my plain old voice and my plain old face. Anywho, so it is 11:11. So I got pocky earlier, which I ate all of very quickly. So right now, I am eating breads. However, unfortunately, if I eat and speak one thing, it'll be kind of terrible. And two things, I'll probably lose my train of thought, which I do anyway all the time. But anyhow, so this morning, it is a Friday, so I woke up at 6 a.m. My alarm rang. Beep, beep, beep. And as always, this is crazy to say, I think I received magical powers when I moved to Japan. I literally get up when my alarm rings. I don't snooze it. I think I have received magical powers. Somehow. Some way. Anywho, the lighting is so bad, I'm sorry. Anywho, I got up, I got ready, took a shower. You know, the normal things. But today, unlike usual Fridays and unlike usual weekdays, I didn't go to school super early to study for a kanji test because today we did not have one. So, because we were going on our class trip today to Kyoto, we didn't have a kanji test. But for Monday, we do. But I decided to take one day off. So usually I'll get to school sometime between 7:45 and 8 in the morning and study kanji because pretty much the first thing we do every single day is take a kanji test. Now, my way of studying essentially is because we were introduced the kanji that we have to learn that day, and then after school I generally will study for about an hour the kanji that we learned that day, and I tend to write them all out, although our test is always just reading for the most part and writing the yomikata, which is like how to read it. But anywho, long story short, usually I get to school about an hour or an hour and 15 minutes early, but today I was like, no, you know what? I'm gonna go to school late. And school starts at 9, so today I got to school at like 8:20. So that's still 40 minutes early. But anyhow, well, shall we change? Is this good? No. Probably too far away. Can you even hear? Ooh, can I lay on my back? Oh, okay. Here is my Black Lotus playmat, which I use as a mouse pad, which I don't actually use as a mouse pad right now because my computer is still in bits and pieces. But anyhow, oh, comfy. Feet up to sky. Okay, anyhow, so I went to school late today, which was still 40 minutes early. And we were going on our class trip today. So we all hopped on the train together, and I think en route was about an hour and a half, maybe, to get to Kyoto. So first place we went was Tofukuji, which is a very large temple. And right now the leaves are changing. It's fall, so it's really beautiful. Unfortunately, I think if we had gone maybe a week or even 2 weeks later, there would have been I don't know. I think the leaves changing. I don't know if a week or 2 weeks would be better. But right now some leaves are red, but not that many. Anywho, I took a lot of footage of my classmates who are all very cute, and I always feel like my brain is clear when I'm by myself. And I feel like I'm always thinking about everyone when I'm around other people or going out together with people, especially with large groups. So I have to like make an effort not to think too hard about other people. I don't know. Anyhow, so I also have a hard time listening to a lot of different foreign languages. They make my head spin, and there are a lot of sounds just in general that sound really terrible, make my head hurt, and make me want to slam my head into a wall. So that happens with foreign languages too, which is quite unfortunate because I feel like it sucks if somebody speaks another language that just happens to hit your ears wrong. Like Japanese doesn't do that at all, and there are plenty of languages that don't do that for me, but there are quite a few that do that. So it's quite unfortunate if just because like you hear a certain language, I'm like, please, I must run away, which is kind of problematic because it's not because of the person, it's not the language's fault, it's just whatever sound happened to hit my ear that was like and then I feel like I am going to die. So I don't want to feel like I'm going to die. Anywho, that was a roundabout anywho. So we went to Tofukuji, and shoot, I forgot the name, but we got to go up into the temple and we all took our shoes off. It was quite nice, but it felt very rushed because when you're going on like a field trip, I feel like you don't get to take as much time to soak in your surroundings, and you're surrounded by people, and I feel like when you're going places with people, I feel like it's harder to soak in your surroundings because you're distracted by the fact that you're with people. Maybe that's just me. Anyhow, can you hear me? Maybe. I'm trying to keep the phone close enough so that the audio isn't atrocious and that you can hear my voice kind of easily, but this is very obnoxiously close. Maybe. I'm also quite afraid that if I hit the stop button, because with this video and with these videos I've been uploading, sorry, I have gone on quite a tangent. With these videos I've been uploading, I haven't been editing them at all, so if I accidentally stop the video, whoops, and I'm gonna upload it anyway, so that would be quite unfortunate. But anywho, so I'm very hungry. Am I actually hungry? I don't know. Anywho, could I say anywho? Perhaps it's now to tell you about what we did next. So after we went to Tofukuji, we went to Suminari Taisha,千本鳥なんか発音がちょっと変からごめん。So we went to the 1,000 torii gates in Kyoto, which is a very famous place. It's essentially, I mean, you've probably seen it, all the red torii gates lined up, and you essentially are climbing up a mountain, but it's quite nice. They're stone stairs, and I love stairs. Oh my goodness, don't even get me started about stairs. I just hit my ladder. I was gonna say though, I thought about stairs, and like I gained lots of energy. But anyhow, are stairs the best thing ever? Maybe. Yes, I love stairs. なんか私階段が大好きなんです。なんか本当に階段について考えて元気が出た。 エネルギーがなんかテンションが上がってる本当に階段が大好き。And I haven't even gotten to the part about where I talk about the 3 new people I've met today. Today was incredible. Anyway, so by that point I was like, I just want to go off on my own. I guess in a way, sometimes I'm a bit sad, like I don't have so much of that sense of camaraderie, and I get super excited about things. So I'm always very excited at school, and I think that can very easily be obnoxious, or taken as obnoxious. I also speak quite loudly generally, so I can very easily see how I am perceived as too excited, obnoxious type. But I think if you're excited about something, you should just be excited about it. There's no such thing as being too excited. There is, though, like, for me, in public, I feel like your behavior, like being loud and obnoxious, is loud and obnoxious. But I guess at school, I feel like school isn't public. I don't know how to explain it. Like, I'm so excited. The fact that I'm here living in Japan, going to school in Japanese. It's been, I don't know. But I fully understand that it's maybe a lot. My personality is too much to swallow. So, I don't know. I guess I love being excited, and I love loving things, and I enjoy loving life, because it's so different from how life used to be long ago. 昔のルーナの人生は辛かった。でもなんか今人生大好きだから大丈夫。本当に大丈夫。Anywho, so we went to the 1000 torii gates, and we took a photo together, and our teacher was there too, and she's very sweet. And I was like, I just want to go. And so I went. But until 1 p.m, we had to all kind of stick together. But I was actually for a bit walking behind a group of, I think that they were elementary school students. Oh, that reminds me, when we were on the train this morning, when we originally got on the train, there was a group of middle school students, and they were all in their uniform, and they saw us get on, and they were all sitting down. There weren't that many seats, so they actually all like grouped up together. They all, not all of them, but about half of them stood up, then all grouped together and sat all together, and they freed up some spaces for us, which was very sweet. So I happened to sit kind of next to one of the middle school students, and I sort of bowed my head and said "Ohayou gozaimasu," and she said "Ohayou gozaimasu," and then I actually really wanted to talk to her, and had they not gotten off the train sooner, suddenly I'm like, English? Unfortunately, they got off the train quite early. But I think I would have ended up talking to her. I wanted to say hi. It reminded me actually of the time I went to Kyoto 12 years ago, when I went on my class trip with my high school. And I remember they were either middle school students or elementary school students, and they saw me, and I like bowed my head and I said "Konnichiwa," and they were shocked that I spoke Japanese. I literally just said hello. I'm like, that is no proof that I speak any a single word of Japanese. Okay, or maybe one single word, but perhaps I don't know 2 single words. Anywho, they were like really excited that I had curly hair. This was 12 years ago. They asked me if they could touch my hair, and for me, I don't really have much of a personal bubble. I know that for a lot of people don't like that. They're like, respect my space and whatnot. And I mean, I do have a personal bubble, but especially if like a kid wanted to, or if a kid asks me, I'm like, yeah, of course. Like, you're curious about it or interested in it, so sure. But anywho, I really wanted to talk to her, but then she was gone, and I was like, no, I wanted to talk to you. But anywho, so where was I going with the whole thing about my personality is obnoxious at school? So I think that maybe people keep their distance from me, but at the same time I sort of keep my distance from them as well. But it is quite like everybody seems quite close, and I'm kind of just like, I'm over here on the outside, which it's weird because in the moments where I've been on the inside, I'm like, oh, I want to be on the outside. But in the moments when I'm on the outside, I'm like, oh, it's so nice that they're so close. It's quite odd, you know. It's been such a long time since I've been a student. I forgot what it's like for people to be like people you're surrounded by. Anyway, totally attention. Everyone is very nice. And yeah, I don't know. Seeing them interact with each other is actually quite cute. I don't know how to explain. Anyway, so back to the elementary school students when I was climbing up the mountain. So it was like 4 of them. There are 2 girls and 2 boys and teacher. And one of the girls was carrying a tablet and she kept taking photos. But the teacher was kind of being the tour guide, which I think is sometimes actually quite nice to have somebody who's like a tour guide. This video is so long and it's probably so not entertaining. Just like looking at my face. Should I use my hands more? But if I'm like this, anyway. So, when we were talking with our hands. So I was walking behind them a bit and listening to what the teacher had to say. And so when the clock struck 1 p.m, freedom at last. So we essentially were saying bye-bye and all parting ways at 1 p.m. So I was like, alright, I want to climb to the top of the mountain. So I said goodbye, farewell, ittekimasu to everyone. And I went to the top. なんか山の一番上に行きたいと思ったから、一人でなんか千本通りの山に登りました。So I think one of the nice things about being on your own is that you get to do things at your own pace. You can go fast, you can go slow. You can go fast without worrying about leaving anyone behind. You can go slow without worrying that you're like holding anybody up. You can change pace all the time. I don't know. I think it's fantastic. Then if you see something and you're like, oh, whoa, that's interesting. You don't even have to be that excited. You could just be like, oh, that's a road I might want to walk down. You don't even have to ask anyone for permission, confirmation, anything of the sort. You can just go there at your own free will. I think if you're, I don't want to talk like in, for me, I used to at least be. I try not to be because it can be kind of detrimental. But I used to always be hyper conscious of what everyone was thinking and making sure everybody felt good. Honestly, that's exhausting. So, being just on my own, it's easier. But anyway, that's not to say that it's not nice to be with people. But it's so tiring. So tiring. Anyway, so I climbed and I climbed and I climbed and I climbed. Oh, that spooked me. I have ice currently melting in my kitchen sink. Because at the grocery store, tangent time, at the grocery store, you can get, they basically have an ice section where you can pretty much make your own little ice pack. So if you get meat or something and you have to carry it home, you can keep it chilled on your way home, which is quite nice. I think it's nice. I bought chicken today, so I made myself a little ice pack, and currently the ice is melting in the sink, and it went pew, and then I was because I have monsters in my room. I don't believe in monsters, so, or at least imaginary monsters. You know, there are some monsters that I won't tell you what I think are monsters. What real thing do you think is a monster? I'm quite curious. Anywho, so back to climbing up the mountain. I was like, and there are a bunch of stone steps, and I love stairs. Back to my I love stairs. I love stairs. They're just so good. Do you ever just climb up some stairs and you're like, oh man, stairs are fantastic. I love them. Anyway. ところで、この動画を見てくれて本当にありがとうございます。Thank you so much for listening to my rambling, by the way. I'm curious, if you end up listening all the way to the end, what you'll think is the most interesting part of this story. This very long, tangential story. Anyway, so, wait, should we... Oh, I want to eat another pretz. Can we eat one more pretz? Oh wait, this is the half that I didn't finish. Okay, sorry. Okay. Back to... What was I talking about? Oh, can we sit here? Is this okay? Okay, no. Guys, I lost it. I've lost it. It's gone. My brain. It's over. Done for. I'm done for. Anyway, okay, so back to me climbing the mountain. So after a few stops, and a few off trail. So there are actually quite a few trails, that you can wander down. How much? Oh, I need to plug my phone in. Plug. Anyway, there are quite a few trails you can kind of wander around, and there are so many shrine gates, which I think, if you do it properly, you're supposed to go around to all of them and bow at each one. Maybe. I would like to look this up. I'd like to learn how to properly adhere to shrine policy. Policy is absolutely the wrong word. But shrine customs, at least in that area. Because since there are so many, I think in this case you just can go around and bow to each one. Whereas normally I think if you're doing a prayer, you clap twice, bow twice, clap once and then bow a final time. Don't quote me on that. I need to brush up. But so eventually I made it up to the top and I was like, I made it. And so once I got to the top, I continued on the trail and I encountered two people who were also up there. I think they were the only two people up there at the time. And one person was filming the other person who seemed to be, I was like, oh, it seems like they're maybe making a YouTube video or something, because he had a very like presentation-esque voice on. So I thought that was interesting. And what was it? I walked past and I think I was looking out into the horizon. You could see the whole city, and in the background there were the mountains. It was quite hazy though, so it wasn't a super clear shot. And one of the two guys offered me a chocolate. And you know, kids, never take candy from strangers. But he had just opened the pack and it was still wrapped, so I was like, this is okay. It's essentially Halloween. So I don't know. We started talking a tiny bit, and then we sort of like parted ways temporarily. And they were still filming. And then I was like, oh, I want to try to film a little thing where I play kendama. And I'm really not good at kendama, but I was like, if I could hit my kendama trick in a video on this mountain, that'd be cool, right? So, anyhow, I tried and I sucked. But it was super pretty up there. I was like, you can see so far. But then the two guys like took interest in the fact that I was playing kendama. And there was an older guy, and I mean they were both older, but one was older than the other one. And they were like, oh, can we try? And I was like, yeah. So we started talking a bit. And then the one guy, he was like, have you heard of this? It's called beanbag, maybe? But essentially, it's like long form stand up comedy. It seems like, kind of. It's like long form funny stories. So it seems like they tend to run for about an hour or so. But I was like, okay. So he's like an entertainment comedian. And essentially what they were doing was filming like a commercial to promote these events. And I was like, that's cool. And so he was like, do you want to be in the video? And I was like, yes, okay. And I was like, that actually sounds really fun. So he came running by and he was like supposed to be training. And then he encounters me. He like says a whole spiel and then he encountered me. Anywho, so I ended up being in a video today. And I was like, it's actually really fun. And they kept being like, oh, I'm sorry for taking your time. And I'm like, no, this is like fantastic. So don't apologize at all. I had a really good time. And it turns out the one guy who was filming is actually a watch master. I was like, that's mighty cool. So I mentioned, they were like, how did you learn Japanese? And I was like, blah, blah, blah. I studied it in high school, and in university I studied mechanical engineering and Japanese, whatnot, whatever. And the one guy was like, oh, I also studied mechanical engineering, but then I studied watch movements and fixing watches, and he's essentially a watch master. And I'm like, that's really cool. Actually, watch movements are so cool. If you've ever opened a watch or seen a watch with essentially a visible movement, like where you can see all the gears, they're so cool. Sorry, I love watch movements. Could I make one myself? Absolutely not. Would I love to learn how to make one? Maybe. Yeah. Anywho, I've also not had enough water today. Usually I drink a lot of water, but I have not had enough water today. So, voice probably sounds a bit sad. I'm sorry about that. Okay, so anywho, these are the two people I met today. The first two people. And then we were talking some more, and it turns out they were also from Osaka. Now, I can't consider myself from Osaka, but it was the first time they had gone there, not to Kyoto in general, but to the Thousand Torii Gates and climbed up the mountain and whatnot. Turns out they were actually cycling friends. So they were like, do you have any plans after this? And I was like, well, I can do whatever. And I was like, well, I might go back. And they were like, have you eaten lunch yet? And at that point, it was almost 3 in the afternoon. I hadn't eaten anything yet. So I was like, So, my goodness. I really need to drink more water today. Also, it's very late. It's almost 11 p.m. I usually go to bed at like 9. Because I wake up at 6. And I need to have sufficient sleep every single day. Anyway, tomorrow's Saturday, so I can sleep in a little bit. Anywho, so the guy who was in the video, and who I interacted with in the video that they took, he was like, well, we're gonna go get lunch. Do you want to come have lunch with us? And he was like, oh, I just threw my phone. And he was like, since you helped me out, we'll treat you to lunch. And I was like, oh, that's so nice. And they very much, they were very much, I don't know, they seemed fine enough, and they didn't give off weird vibes, you know, like if they wanted to murder me, they could have, but we were just on a mountain. Probably a pretty decent place to, actually, probably shouldn't think about that. Anyway, so we went down the other side of the mountain, and they actually hadn't yet been to Tofukuji, so we actually stopped by there on the way back, and one guy had a recommendation for a ramen place, so I was like, okay, that sounds good. So I ended up having tonkotsu ramen, and it was super good. Had chashu men, which is essentially very pork ramen, and I'm so grateful. Honestly, I was like, you don't have to treat me to lunch, because I helped you. Like, I thought that I was having a good time, so it didn't really feel like I did anything, if that makes sense. But anywho, I was really grateful, because at that point I was very hungry. But I find that, like, if you eat one whole bowl of ramen, that's so much food. I feel like that's more than enough food for one day. So I don't even need anything else. Also, one bowl of ramen, I can't even imagine how much sodium is actually in it. But it was very yummy. So, I'm glad that I got to have that. Also, maybe sometime we'll go see the dude perform. Will I understand the comedy of it at all? Actually be an interesting thing to see. Anywho, at some point I'll be in a YouTube video. So we ended up parting ways after eating, and I had in my backpack my dance game shoes with me. And my goal of today was my original goal, because originally I didn't plan on meeting two random people and then like going to lunch with them. My original plan was to find the Namco arcade in the Aeon Mall in Kyoto that supposedly had a pump it up cabinet. Now, I was like, okay, this is only a 25-minute or so walk from the station, so I'll just go over there. And I walked and I walked and I walked and I got to this bridge and I was like, oh, well, that's a nice bridge. And then there was a river and I was like, well, that's a nice river. And then I was like, oh, that's a nice riverside walkway. So I decided that I wanted to walk on the riverside walkway. So I found the stairs to get there, which were kind of roundabout getting to those. Anyway, and I spent a bit of time by the riverside, and it actually smelled quite like ocean. And I was like, I kind of like this. I don't know. It was interesting. Because I find in Osaka, it sometimes smells like ocean with a fine scent of sewage. It really depends on where you are. But sewage scent is not completely uncommon, if I'm being honest. Anyway, so then I continued on my way to Aeon, and when I got there, I went up to the 4th floor, and I went into the Namco, and I was like, oh, all these people playing My, and I'm like, let me find the Pump It Up cabinet. And I went around, and I'm like, okay, I'm not seeing a Pump It Up cabinet, so maybe there just isn't one, but also maybe I'm just not seeing it. So I went over and I asked the staff, and I figured it would just be easiest to show her a photo. So I showed it to her and she was like, no. I looked back and I think that they used to have a Pump It Up cabinet, but unfortunately that information was from like 5 years ago. So no Pump It Up cabinet for me. I ended up going on like a 45-minute-ish journey, which had some tangents within. I feel like I am just a tangential human being. Anywho. Perhaps at one point they had a Pump It Up cabinet, but today was not the day. So, me bringing my pump shoes, all for naught. But anywho, I was in Aeon, which is essentially just a mall, and I was wandering through, and at that point I was very tired, which, I meant to show this at the beginning of the video, and now it's been almost an hour, but I walked 33,228 steps today, according to my pedometer. なんか万歩計で33,228. Sorry, I walked over 30,000 steps today, but at that point I think I had walked maybe 24,000-ish or so. So I'm walking through the mall and I passed by a yogibo. And yogibo is essentially just a store full of beanbag chairs, beanbag, a furniture beanbag-esque things, beanbag pillows. It's just very beanbagular. Anyhow, so they seem, I think it's actually an American brand, but it seems quite popular here in Japan. I've seen quite a few stores, and I have actually sat on one once before, and it was very comfy. But I only sat there for about a moment, and then I was like, it's too expensive. I also like, what if I ended up going home after 2 years? When, I mean, I really don't want to go home after 2 years. I'll probably just stay here forever if I can, but I have to navigate a way to stay here forever. So I also like, what if I move? It'll be really big and cumbersome. But I was thinking, but it was really comfy. Maybe I should try it out again and see. Maybe it would be worth it. Like, for example, I did buy myself a rug. I absolutely, while it was a rather large purchase, and by rather large I mean like very, I love it. Every day I come home, I'm very happy. I see it and I'm like, I love you, rug. And then I stand on it with my clean feet, of which I have just washed. And I'm like, oh, you feel so good. And I'm so happy to have this rug. Really. Like, one of my favorite hobbies is just rolling around on the rug. Like, even right now, I'm not rolling, but I am existing on this rug. So I think that if something contributes that much to my life, and every single day I'm like, this thing is fantastic. Anyway, so I was like, well, maybe I should give it a try again. And then I was like, actually, I don't remember how much it is. So I figured, well, maybe I should just ask how much it is. So the person working there, I ended up, I was like, I slowed down while I was walking past the yogibo shop, and I was looking at the stuff, and I was like, wow, I need to say something so that I can ask if I can sit on it. So I was also actually genuinely curious how much it was, because I was like, well, if it's something reasonable, then if I sit on it and I really like it, then maybe I can get it. And so I ended up asking her, and she gave me a little pamphlet, and then I asked her if it was okay if I sat on it, and I ended up sitting on it. And I think initially she was like, oh, you speak Japanese. So anyhow, so I initially sat on the max size one. No. The one that was slightly smaller than the max size one. Because I was kind of curious about, alright, if I got the one that was slightly smaller and it's a bit cheaper, how will it compare to the larger one? Anywho, I was like, we're about to do some research on beanbags. So, during my beanbag research, anywho, I ended up sitting down and I was like, oh my goodness, I just don't want to get up. It felt so good. I'd been walking around all day and I was like, this feels so good. They're so comfy. I was like, my brain is going to break. This is so comfortable. So as I was sitting there, I tend to be someone where when I'm alone, also, example, had I been with anyone, I would not have met those two people. I would not have gone to eat with them, would not have been in the video, I would not have gotten to have all the conversation that I had with them. So I'm really grateful for that. This as well, because I was alone, I ended up talking to the store person. And anywho, so I tend to voluntarily offer information I also really like talking to shop people. It's like one of my new favorite hobbies to practice Japanese. I just like talk to the people at the shop. Anywho, so I mentioned that I was really tired because I'd been walking around all day, and I came on a class trip to Kyoto, but we all parted ways at once, so I've just been kind of wandering around on my own. And then we started talking, and she was so nice. Do you ever have that, like, you talk to someone and you're just like, oh, you're so nice to talk to? She was so nice, and it wasn't really busy, so I just sat there on the beanbag, and she like let me try out the other beanbags too. But I think I sat there on the beanbags for like, was it an hour, 2 hours? Maybe it was like 2 hours. We just sat there and I talked with her, and we ended up at the end exchanging info, and we're gonna hang out. And I'm so excited. And I told her that like I lived in Osaka. She was like, what? That's so far. And as I was like lying on the beanbag, I'm like, I'm just gonna sleep here tonight. And she was so sweet. And I'm really excited to see her again. I don't know. Like, how does that happen? How does that happen? So I spent I'm so excited actually. Anywho. So I spent a lot of time sitting on those beanbags. And like, if that is not a sales technique, I don't know what is. But I was just like, I want this. I want this. I feel like it's something that I would actually use a lot. Every day. Every day. So it made 0 sense to purchase it in Kyoto and then transport it to Osaka, so I think I'll just go to a shop nearby. But it's so comfortable, and the nice thing about the like larger size one is that it doubles as a chair, so it gives quite good neck and back support. I feel like I'm turning into a commercial, which is terrible. Sorry. Oh yeah. Oh, I just wanna sleep. I'm gonna go to sleep soon. But anywho, so this is like bedtime chat with Luna. 5 zillion million. Oh, I also have been wearing these clothes all day, which I suppose is what you do with clothes when you go outside and go around places. But usually I would change right when I get home, but I was like, oh, before I left the beanbag shop, I looked at my phone and I was like, my phone is at 7%. And then I was like, oh no. She was like, well, I can charge it for you. We might have a USB-C. So she went, she found one that was like, I think it was a micro USB. And then she was like, oh no. And then she got a USB-C and I was like, thank you so much. And so she charged my phone for me, which was super sweet. And she's great. And I can't wait to see her again. Anywho. So while my phone was charging, I sat there a bit longer. I swear I was there for like 2.5 hours. I must have been. Maybe just like 2 hours, but can you imagine? I kept being like, I'm so sorry that I've been here so long. And it was really nice. I'm excited. Anyway, so then I was like, well, now I have to walk 25 minutes navigating myself back to the train and then take about an hour and a half journey back home. So, with that, then I was like, oh, do I have any food at home? I'm like, well, I don't think I have any proteins. So I stopped by the store and I picked up some chicken. I also picked up an apple and pretz. And somewhere in today, before I left to go back to the train station, I grabbed some pocky since it is 11:11, which usually in my mind is make a wish, but it is pocky day. So pocky is very yummy. Chocolate is great. I also walked a heck ton today, so I'm like, let me eat all the snacks. But anyhow, thank you for watching. If you made it this far, I don't know. What are you wishing for on 11:11? What would you wish for at 11:11? Do you remember 11, 11, 11 at 11:11? And that was 11 years. That was 11 years ago. Alright. Thank you so much for watching. I apologize for this. It's been 56 minutes. そんなに長いの？ごめんなさい。本当に。なんか、この動画を見てくれてありがとうございます。お疲れ様。じゃあ、今からそろそろ寝る。おやすみ。Thank you so much for watching. Stay tuned next time for live with Luna Uncut in Japan. Will she ever actually purchase her PC case to assemble her PC? We don't know. Yes, I will. I just actually think that somewhere in Osaka there might be a PC parts store that I can go to. Just haven't been able to make an Amazon account yet. I just haven't navigated ordering anything online. Just, I don't know what it is. I really like going to stores in person. I really, really do. Okay. Please forgive me. Maybe. I know. What's your favorite kind of pocky? Or what flavor of pocky do you want to try? Or what's your favorite pretz flavor? I'm trying this one today. It's quite yummy, but is it my favorite? I don't know. Would I buy it again? Probably. Okay. Yeah. Thank you so much for watching. Bye bye. ありがとう。本当に。今日は本当に楽しかった。本当に楽しかった。Today was great. I'm looking forward to tomorrow. To just roll around on the rug. Bye bye.